Okay, ready for this. Zoe Saldaña. We're diving deep this time.
Yeah.
You know her as Neytiri.
Oh, of course.
Gamora.
Uh-huh.
Total sci-fi queen, right?
Absolutely.
But she's got this whole other side to her story unfolding right now, and it's fascinating.
It really is. It's like she's, at this point, 46 years old,
Yeah.
where all that outward success,
Mm.
doesn't quite match how she's feeling inside.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting, right? Because on the one hand,
Right.
this woman's in 3 of the top 5 highest grossing films ever made.
Wow.
We're talking Avatar,
Oh, yeah.
Avengers,
Oh,
Endgame, Avatar, The Way of Water, Star Trek reboot.
I mean, come on.
But then you read these interviews and she's talking about feeling like an imposter.
And imposter syndrome is something that so many high achievers experience.
Right.
It's that feeling that you're not as competent as people think you are,
Yeah.
and that you're going to be found out as a fraud.
It's almost paradoxical.
Yeah.
You're at the top of your game, but you feel like you don't belong.
You don't belong.
And I can see how that would be a struggle, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah. Especially when you think about the pressure of that environment.
For sure.
It's intense.
And it's kind of what Saldaña's been hinting at, right? She's talked about feeling like a smaller part of a bigger thing with these massive franchises.
Yeah.
Like she isn't fully using her potential.
Right.
Or having that creative control that maybe she craves.
Right.
Which leads us to Emilia Perez.
Emilia Perez, yeah.
This film is a total 180 from those blockbusters.
It really is. Genre bending. We're talking cartel drama meets a musical.
Wow.
Directed by Jacques Audiard.
Yeah.
Known for that gritty, realistic style.
And
Saldaña's role, this is huge.
Huge.
First Spanish language role.
Okay.
And she's playing a transgender character, which adds a whole other level of complexity.
Whoa, wait, hold up. Transgender character.
Yeah.
That's bold.
Especially now.
Especially with the current climate, surrounding representation and all that.
Right.
It makes you wonder if this was deliberate.
Yeah.
Like, was this a conscious choice for her to take on a role that challenges her and sparks conversation?
It's hard to say without getting in her head, but it definitely seems like she's seeking out these roles that are more fulfilling creatively, personally.
Yeah.
And look, the film's gotten a ton of attention already.
Oh, really?
Cannes premiere, Golden Globe nomination.
Wow.
There's Oscar buzz.
So maybe Emilia Perez as her way of saying, hey, I'm more than just the blue-skinned alien chick. I've got depth, I've got range, I'm not afraid to push boundaries.
Exactly. And if you look back at her career, you can see she's always chosen those roles.
Right.
Stepping outside of that comfort zone.
Everyone knows her from Avatar and Guardians,
Right.
But then she's got things like Center Stage, which was a whole different vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Who could forget Eva Rodriguez?
Yeah.
That fiery ballet dancer.
Right.
Amazing.
And even in the action genre.
Yeah.
She's got special ops, lioness, military drama.
Uh-huh.
She plays Joe, CIA operative, has to infiltrate a terrorist group.
Oh, wow.
And this one was challenging for her.
Really?
Because she has dyslexia.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and that makes it hard to deal with a lot of dialogue.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Wow, so that adds a whole other level of respect for her.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people would shy away from that, but she didn't.
Not at all.
And apparently nailed it.
She did.
Which speaks to her resilience.
Definitely her resilience.
It's her determination to push past obstacles.
It's like she's drawn to these roles that require her to really dig deep. Confront her own vulnerabilities.
Yeah, speaking of vulnerabilities, she's been open about her experience on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah, the second and third films.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where she played Anna Maria.
One of the pirate captains.
And years later, she's talking about how difficult that set was.
Yeah.
Even saying lost in the trenches.
Lost in the trenches. Wow.
And the producer reached out.
You get
to apologize.
After hearing about it.
Yeah, and she's talked about forgiving him and the importance of allowing people to redeem themselves.
Which is a huge conversation.
Right.
About cancel culture and how we deal with these things, these mistakes, these transgressions.
Yeah, and she's been quoted saying the court of public opinion can be very harsh.
I can.
And that she believes in second chances, giving people a chance to grow.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, where's the line between holding people accountable and completely shutting them down?
It's a tough one, especially in Hollywood.
Oh, I know. Image conscious much.
For sure.
Yeah, and this kind of reminds me of something else she's spoken about.
What's that?
Feeling excluded in certain Hollywood environments.
Yes, especially as a woman and a Latina.
She's mentioned feeling this pressure to represent an entire group of people.
Right, which is a big burden to carry.
It is, especially when you're just trying to focus on your art.
Your craft.
Right, like she's saying, hey, I'm here to be an artist.
Yeah.
Explore characters, tell stories.
Right.
But I feel boxed in by these expectations.
Yeah, and that speaks to a larger issue, right?
You're sure.
About diversity and inclusion in Hollywood. It's not just about having those faces on screen.
Right.
It's about creating a space where people feel valued and their voices are heard.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder how much of her career choices have been influenced by these experiences.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, like maybe she's choosing projects like Emilia Perez because they give her more creative control and a chance to tell these stories that are closer to her heart.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that even someone as successful as Zoe still faces these barriers.
Based on gender and ethnicity.
Absolutely.
And speaking of challenges, let's talk about her personal life a little bit.
Right.
She's a wife and a mom of 3.
She is.
Which adds another layer of complexity to this career.
Right.
And she's been open about how hard it is to balance motherhood with these career ambitions.
That push and pull.
Right, you know.
Feeling guilty.
Yeah, the pressure to be a good parent.
And a successful actress.
Yeah.
And that's something that so many working parents can relate to.
Oh, absolutely.
That constant back and forth.
Yeah.
Wanting to be there for your kids, but also wanting to pursue your dreams.
Right.
Now, Saldaña's case, she wants to raise her kids with a strong sense of heritage.
Yeah.
She's married to Marco Perego, who's Italian.
Right.
So they're really blending cultures and traditions in their home.
Beautiful.
It's like she's creating this little world where differences are celebrated.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder, you know, if this has influenced her choices.
Yeah.
Like maybe her decision to do Emilia Perez in Spanish was partly motivated by a desire to connect more deeply with her own background.
That's a fascinating thought.
Yeah.
Really connecting all those pieces.
It's like everything's full circle with this film.
Yeah. The creative control, the heritage, these complex roles.
It's all there.
All culminating in one project.
It's a real pivotal moment.
Yeah.
A transformation for her.
And it makes you wonder, you know.
What's that?
Has she been overlooked?
At least overlooked.
For her talent.
Yeah, maybe. Especially in those sci-fi roles.
Yeah.
Where they put so much emphasis on special effects.
Right. And there is that bias against sci-fi and fantasy.
Oh, totally.
When it comes to awards.
Yeah, even though those roles can be so demanding.
Remember when James Cameron campaigned for her to get an Oscar nod for Avatar?
Oh, yeah.
He really thought she deserved it.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
It didn't.
And she even said she felt minimized and disregarded by some critics who thought it was all CGI.
Wow.
Like, it's just special effects.
Oh.
It's got to be frustrating to put your all into something.
Right.
And people just say, oh, that's just computers.
Right. So maybe that fuels her.
Yeah, like to take on a role like Emilia Perez.
Or it's all her. Exactly where it's front and center.
And you know what? It sounds like the world is taking notice.
Yeah.
Emilia Perez has gotten rave reviews.
I love to hear it.
And people are buzzing about her performance.
That's awesome.
It's a real testament to her talent and her perseverance. I mean, 25 years in the industry.
Wow.
And she's finally getting the recognition she deserves.
And it feels like this is about more than awards.
Right.
It's about being seen and appreciated for who she is.
And an artist, yeah.
It's about having that freedom to express herself.
Yes.
Tell stories that matter.
Yeah.
And create work that really resonates with people.
And that's what makes her story so inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
At the height of her career, still taking risks, pushing those boundaries.
Challenging yourself.
It's a reminder.
Yeah.
That we're all capable of that growth and transformation.
No matter where we are.
Exactly. And that's what makes Zoe Saldaña's story so captivating.
It really is.
It's not just Hollywood.
Right.
It's about the human experience.
It's about the challenges we face.
The choices we make.
And how we find ourselves along the way.
Yeah.
It's a story that's still unfolding, you know.
It is.
And who knows what exciting chapters are still to come.
I can't wait to see it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like she's saying, I did the whole blockbuster thing, and now I'm ready for something else.
Right. And that takes some serious guts.
It does.
Because not a lot of actors at her level would do that.
Yeah, they wouldn't step off that path.
Yeah.
Venture into the unknown. Like, it speaks to her confidence, her self-awareness, not being afraid to kind of embrace the unknown.
And that's what makes her so relatable, even though she's this huge movie star, you know? It's like she's still figuring things out.
Still grappling with self-doubt.
Yeah.
Like she's saying, hey, I'm Neytiri, but I'm also just human.
Yeah. just trying to find my way.
Yeah. And that vulnerability is what makes her so appealing to audiences.
Totally. Because we see ourselves in her, right? Her struggles, her triumphs, and her wanting to make a difference.
Yeah, make a real impact.
It's also refreshing to see someone in her position talk about feeling like an outsider.
Right. Because she's been in some of the biggest films ever.
Yeah.
Worked with the biggest names in Hollywood.
And still feels excluded sometimes.
Which just shows you that even in a place like Hollywood, there are still issues with representation and equality.
Oh, sure.
And her experiences remind us there's still work to do.
Yeah, both in the industry and just like in society.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder if her decision to do Emilia Perez was partly about that.
Yeah, wanting to be in a more diverse creative environment.
Right, because she's talked about how different it was
to
be on set with more women and people of color.
Yeah, behind the camera too.
Yeah, that must have been so powerful.
That sense of community.
Yeah.
Like she found a space to be herself, you know?
Yeah, as an artist, as a Latina.
Like Emilia Perez's homecoming almost.
Yeah, reclaiming her identity and her voice. And that's what makes this film so important, right?
It really does.
It's not just a movie, it's a statement.
Yeah, it's her saying, this is who I am, these are the stories I want to tell.
And I'm not letting anyone stop me.
Powerful. Especially for young Latinas who are trying to find their place.
Yeah, she's showing them that you can do it.
You can achieve your dreams.
Without compromising who you are.
And that sometimes the most fulfilling path is the one less traveled, you know?
Yeah.
The one that takes you out of your comfort zone.
Makes you grow.
You're in unexpected ways.
And speaking of challenging paths, let's get back to her comments on cancel culture.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Because it's such a tricky topic, right?
It really is. It's like wanting to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
But also realizing that people can change and deserve a second chance.
And she's advocating for a different approach, right?
Yeah. A more nuanced approach.
She's not saying we should just condone bad behavior.
No, not at all.
But she is saying that we should be open to the possibility of forgiveness.
And growth.
And that's challenging, especially today.
Especially with social media.
Yeah, amplifying everything.
Yeah, it's hard to separate the person from the action sometimes.
Yeah, but she's saying, hey, let's not be so quick to judge.
Yeah, let's talk, let's understand.
Yeah, focus on restorative justice instead of just punishment.
Right, and it's a good reminder, you know, we're all human, we all mess up.
And we all have the potential to change.
Right, and maybe a little compassion can go a long way.
Yeah, finding that balance.
Between accountability and grace and forgiveness.
Which, if you think about it, that's a theme throughout her whole story.
It really is.
Pushing those boundaries, finding a way to make things work that seem opposite.
Reconciling those contradictions.
Motherhood and career, blockbuster success, and wanting more.
Right, and then there's cancel culture.
Like she's saying, hey, it's not black and white.
Yeah.
The world's messy and complicated and beautiful.
There's all these different perspectives.
And I'm here to embrace it all.
And that's why she's so compelling.
Right. It is, because she's not afraid to be vulnerable.
Admit her flaws.
And say that she's still learning.
Yeah, it's that honesty that makes her such a strong role model.
It's comforting, you know?
Yeah.
To know that even someone like her is still figuring things out.
Still on a journey?
Yeah, like we're all in this together.
We are.
Trying to find our way.
Make sense of the world.
To leave our mark.
And maybe the most important thing is to stay open to those new possibilities.
Yeah, and never stop learning.
Just like Zoe.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Zoe's world, what have we learned?
We've seen how she's navigated being a woman and a Latina in Hollywood.
We've explored her career, you know, from blockbusters to these more meaningful roles.
And we've talked about cancel culture, representation, and balancing being a mom with her career.
But there's one thing we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, and it's a big one.
Her family.
Her family, yeah.
How her upbringing shaped her values, her choices, everything.
Right, that's where we'll pick up next time.
Stay tuned. It's funny, right? We talk about celebrities and their accomplishments.
Yeah.
But we rarely talk about what made them.
Foundations.
Yeah, the people, the values.
The roots.
The experiences that shaped them. And for Zoe, her family is huge, especially the women.
Oh, absolutely. She said it herself, growing up surrounded by these strong, independent women. Her mom, her grandmother, aunts.
Yeah.
They gave her that resilience, that work ethic, and that connection to her heritage.
And you think about those early influences, right? They can have such a ripple effect.
Yeah, think about it. These women, they lived in a world that wasn't always easy for Latinas.
Right.
They had to fight for everything, you know. their place, their voice.
Yeah.
And those experiences shaped Zoe, how she sees the world.
For sure.
What it means to be a woman, a Latina, an artist.
In a world that tries to put you in a box.
Absolutely.
Like she inherited this strength.
Yeah, this legacy from the women who came before.
And she's carrying it on.
Not just in her career, but in her life too. Raising her sons to respect women, diversity, different cultures.
And remember, she's married to Marco Perego, who's Italian.
Right, so they're mixing it all up at home.
Blending those cultures.
Creating this little world where differences are celebrated.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It shows you how family shapes us, right?
It really does.
And not just who we are, but the world we want to create.
For future generations, yeah.
It makes you realize success isn't just fame and fortune.
No.
It's about living a life true to your values, honoring your heritage.
And making a difference.
And for Zoe, that impact goes way beyond family.
Absolutely. Think about the conversation she started.
About representation.
Cancel culture.
The need for diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, she's using her platform to challenge those norms.
Raise awareness.
Advocate for a more just world.
And she does it with so much grace.
Such authenticity, yeah.
She's open about her struggles, that she's still learning.
It's that honesty that makes her such a powerful role model.
It's like she's saying, I'm not perfect.
Right. I mess up sometimes, but I'm trying.
And maybe by sharing my story, it can help others.
Feel seen and heard.
And that's what makes this deep dive so great.
Yeah.
It's not just about gossip.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about exploring what it means to be human.
Challenges, the choices.
How we find ourselves along the way.
It's about understanding that success is a journey.
Not a destination.
And the most important thing is to be true to yourself.
To embrace where you came from.
To speak up for what's right.
And never stop learning.
Just like Zoe.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Zoe Saldaña's world,
yeah,
we want to leave you with this.
Okay.
What's your Emilia Perez?
What's that one thing you've been dreaming of?
That project you've been putting off, that leap of faith.
What's holding you back?
What would it take to make it happen?
Zoe's story shows us that anything is possible.
If you have the courage to chase your dreams.
The willingness to face those challenges.
And the commitment to be true to who you are.
So go create your own masterpiece.
Thanks for joining us.